Hey guys, what is up? Hope everybody has been having a wonderful day. I know I certainly have been. Super excited to be bringing you guys another 18-hole vlog, this time at Fossil Trace Golf Club. You guys are going to want to stick around for the full video. This course gets crazier and crazier and crazier as I play each hole. On the back nine, there are some holes that are actually cut through and around hundreds of millions of year old like fossils. And I will definitely show you guys those rocks. I mean, they look absolutely insane. Probably some of the coolest holes I've ever played. And you guys can see we're already getting off to a strong start here on hole one, literally driving past the chimney. I think it's a very historic chimney from what the starter told me. He actually gave me a little bit of a challenge here. He said, you know, if you hit a pretty good drive, you might actually be able to get past the chimney, and it appears I was able to do so successfully. But yeah, if you guys enjoy this video, please be sure to click the like button, subscribe if you haven't already. If there's any courses you guys want to see me do in the future, please let me know. I will be putting up an 18-hole video weekly, Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern. So set your notifications. I will be putting a video out every single week. Super excited to be on this posting schedule. And so, yep, let's get into the video. So this was, as I said, a really awesome golf course. Actually, one of the most highly requested courses by you guys when I put out my Instagram poll a couple weeks ago when I told everybody I was going out to a Colorado trip. It was one of the most requested courses, so I'm sure some of you guys will be really excited to watch me play. And I actually played really good. So this was filmed about a week or two ago as of the date of this recording, and it was a really successful trip out to Colorado. I definitely have a few other courses to post, and I'll let you guys guess in the comments which are the ones I hit. But I was actually spending about 2 to 4 hours every single day before I went out and filmed, getting my clubs fit and dialed in with Ben Showman, who's one of Cobra's head club fitters and has been for like 25 years, and making a lot of breakthroughs there, using the brand new 3D printed irons from Cobra, and they're absolutely incredible. In fact, I believe this was my first full round with them. So they've been performing amazing, and I'm really playing great. And I'm going to be going down to South Florida in about a week now, and I'm excited to start competing. I know it'll be a long process, and there'll be some bumps in the roads, but I know if I just trend in the right direction, I know that good things will happen. So yeah, that was a so start to the first hole. Again, that has been my issues, my putting. These greens were absolutely brutal. Probably rolling 12 or 13 on the stimp, and they were very undulated too, so definitely made things tough. I definitely had quite a few 3-putts today, but fortunately my ball striking was about as good as it's ever been, so they kind of canceled each other out. But I definitely do need to get to a place where, you know, I'm firing on all cylinders, so to speak. So that is definitely something that's on my radar, and it's exciting because, you know, there's some low-hanging fruit, and I already feel like I'm playing really good. And so I'm just going to keep attacking it, and, you know, knock me down 1,000 times, I'm getting up 1,001. That's just how it's going to be. So that was a really good tee shot there. Went long and right, but not a bad leave. Hit an okay second shot, and this is the range I struggle with. When I get between maybe 15 to 30, 40 yards from the green, I just get this little bit of tension in my swing, and it just causes my stroke to not be as smooth as it should, and I can definitely lose a lot of shots in that range. So I'm doing a lot of work mentally and physically to shore that up. But in this instance, made an awesome up and down. And, you know, if you guys are asking me what do I need to do to be competitive, well, in a nutshell, it's that right there. I need to get much better in that range in terms of like having a 20 to 40 yard shot and then making the putt. That will be a game changer for me. So on hole 3, off to a decent start, and a really interesting property of these par 3s. Every single one of them like funneled down to the green. So like I had a couple of par 3s where I was literally 10, 15 yards right of the green or left of the green, and the ball would just kick down, kind of like almost like a pinball machine. It would just like kick down and funnel into the center. So that was definitely a welcome feature. I actually landed it on that slope right there, like where I zoomed in, and it slowly trickled down, and it rolled backwards that far. And just goes to show you guys how steep the slopes are around these greens. And not gonna lie, it definitely messed with me mentally a little bit because I felt like I wasn't able to really play offense on the greens as much as I would have liked. I felt like I was being a little defensive, and you can't think like that when you're putting because you're just not going to make as many putts. And that's probably one of my biggest hurdles when I'm competing or playing in a round that really matters. And I hate this. I hate how it pops in my brain. Like, say I have a 10 or 20 footer, making it won't be at the forefront of my mind. What will be at the forefront of my mind is like, okay, let's just make sure we don't leave ourselves anything more than a foot or two left, which is such a wimpy, defeatist attitude to have. I mean, if you want to win tournaments and go low, if you're 10 to 20 feet away, you got to be thinking, I'm making this putt. And if I don't make it, I'm going to make the next one. And so that's the biggest thing I'm working on is improving that mindset. So on this hole, I caught it high on the toe off the tee. It was good line and still ran out nicely, but I just hate that. It's I'm sure some of you guys can relate. If you hit a long iron and you hit it, like especially if it's teed up, and you hit it like a bit high in the toe, the ball just doesn't feel very good off the face, and not a very comfortable ball flight either. But yeah, so this was in Golden, Colorado, so you guys can see the G there on that mesa. I think it's a really cool thing a lot of towns do, especially when they have like mountain ranges. They'll put up like the first letter of their town's name on the mountain. Well, it's pretty cool. So here I'm working on my flighted shot. It is a bit into the wind here. And, this is my miss. And I spent so much time this week working with Ben on that little miss out to the right. And I think we've got it figured out. And it honestly was extremely simple. So I typically used to address my clubs with the blade a couple degrees open. And you're not going to believe it. Ben said, well, let's just address the club with it square and see what happens. And lo and behold, the ball started going straight. And so I'm going to keep working on that, but I think we got it all figured out. And I literally put my golf ball in the worst spot here off of off of that second shot. I hit literally as good of a shot as I could have, and it just ran all the way past the hole. This is definitely one of those courses where playing it a couple times makes all the difference because then you know where you can't afford to miss. And this was a tough one. I really thought that putt was in. And I don't know if I've been making many bad strokes. I just think I've been getting a little unlucky and just maybe I'm a fraction off on my line and my stroke. And when both of those are off, it's enough to keep the putt from going in. But I'm going to figure it out because not to say my putting's been absolutely dreadful, but it's definitely been bad. And it's been holding me back from shooting some really good scores. So I'm going to keep trying to work on that. But onto the fifth hole, definitely something of a breather hole here, not even 100 yards. I don't know if you guys struggle with this the way I do, but when you have like a super easy hole, especially after a string of rather tough holes, it's like you almost put pressure on yourself to hit like a really good shot, and it can make it tough to execute. So I definitely felt that a little bit on this shot. Didn't hit a terrible shot, but was a little weak on it, squirted it out to the right. And I have about 20 feet left here. Not disastrous, but if you're inside 100 yards, you got to be hitting it inside 15 feet every single time if you want to have any chance of success in professional golf. And again, just a very, very poor putt. This one was just a pure misread, quite frankly. Like, I don't want to say that was a terrible putt based on where I was aimed. Like, I kind of hit the putt I was intending on, but just misread it. And these greens had me guessing all day. It really bothered me. I spent probably a good hour and a half, pretty much until dark, after this round on the greens, just to try to get some semblance of confidence back, just because it was really tough. But absolute beautiful view of the mountain range here. This course you could kind of separate into like three distinct segments. The first segment, the first 6 holes, was kind of like somewhat tight, weaving and bobbing through some small like valleys and stuff and around a road. And then these next 6 holes is kind of out in the open in this like valley between mountain ranges. And then the last 6 holes is just crazy. It's like fossils everywhere, crazy uphill, downhill undulations and water all over the place. It was like 3 very distinct parts of the golf course. So that's really what I enjoyed most about this place. And it's a public course, so anybody can play. And shockingly, I was able to get on and get around in. So, flared that tee shot out to the right a little bit here, but this was a really good shot. I judged it really well. Didn't let the ball get away from me too much. I've always struggled with that, especially out of the rough with my speed. Because obviously, if you hit a fly or lie, that ball can go flying, hence the term flyer. And so I always have to swing like 10 or 15% softer when I'm out of the rough just to avoid that. But a really great shot here. Have about 10 or 12 feet left. And I'm just trying to find a pitch mark, and it looks like that's where it landed, kicked to the left, funneled in nicely. And I have an icy 12-footer. I mean, this is about as fast of a putt as you're going to see anywhere. So, honestly, it's not like I got like overly aggressive and blew it by. That's just how fast these greens are. I felt really good about the read on this, but for some reason, sometimes on my shorter putts, where I don't take the putter back as much, I just sometimes have an issue with pulling or pushing it, so I got to address that. And then there, just a careless mistake. So that was a tough one. Never a fun situation when you're walking up to a green looking for birdie and you end up walking away with a bogey. And on to hole 7. Again, another really beautiful hole with a beautiful landscape in the background. 377 yards, and I'm just going to send mail to it. One of the other big things that I worked on with Ben was teeing the ball a lot lower, and it's made a huge difference. I hit an awesome tee shot here. It's right on the line. There's some very thick hay up the left side, but the cool thing about it is if you can just get it to land in that rough, it'll kick dead right and funnel right down onto the green. And it was close. Like, I knew it was going to be within a couple yards, and as you guys can see, it funneled down. So it's crazy how steep that is. So it landed maybe 3 or 4 yards right of the hay, and just kicked and funneled all the way down onto the green. And that was an absolutely beautiful result. I really was kind of not sure at all. And I left this in just so you guys can see kind of how I'm reading putts. One of the biggest things I like to look for, just to kind of gauge speed, I'll go to the side of the hole, and I'll go towards the side. So if the ball is breaking, like wherever it's breaking, I'll go on the direction it's breaking between the ball and the hole so I can see the slope. And I'm trying to see if the ball is higher or lower than the hole. So if the ball's higher than the hole, that means overall it'll be a downhill putt. If the ball is lower than the hole, it'll overall be an uphill putt. And yeah, that's a cardinal sin right there. I think I should go to jail for leaving a 10-foot eagle putt short. But that's kind of how I try to gauge the greens and stuff. And it was just so difficult. It was really frustrating because this is up there with the best I've ever hit the golf ball. And I didn't think I was like hitting horrible putts. I just couldn't really get many to drop, unfortunately. So this was a bit of a pull here, I believe. And yeah, just kind of not a good shot. And you guys won't believe just how bad this was. I couldn't believe I found this ball. And I know you guys are going to say, there's no way you found that ball, and I totally get it, because I thought there was no way I would find this ball. It was so buried, I literally had to leave my hat in place so I wouldn't lose it again. And, I mean, we were only looking for it for about 2 minutes. We'd already found like 3 different golf balls, but I was playing a Titleist ball that had the word tour on it. And so it was definitely mine. And I fell like twice trying to set this camera up, and it is set up in a very precarious position. And I got an incredible amount of club on this, and it landed on the green, ran all the way to the back. But, I mean, just a phenomenal shot to even get a club on it, let alone get it on the green. So it landed on the front edge and then ran all the way to the back. Obviously, there's no way I'm getting any spin on that ball. And I have a extremely difficult putt. And look where that pin is. I mean, that's not even a pin length off the green. This pin was a little wonky because this pin location, I don't know if it would be like this in a tournament, because if you're beyond that hole, you can't stop it. I hit about as good of a putt as I could hit. It barely made it to the top of the crest, and there was just nothing I could do. That ball was rolling to the fringe regardless of what I did. And I think I did great to keep it on the green. So that definitely made getting down and two from there a lot more difficult. So definitely wanting to make this putt, because obviously I'm thinking to myself, man, this would be such an incredible Instagram post if I could make it and make a 4 from there. And yeah, that stung, not going to lie. Felt like I hit a great putt. And that happened a lot today. That's why it's kind of tough for me to say like my putting was horrible, because my putting stroke is bad. It's just, when you have a lot of lip outs, it's very tough to diagnose if there's something wrong or if you're just getting unlucky. So I'm going to have to kind of keep an eye on my trends the next couple weeks and see if there's anything I can maybe glean from my misses. So on hole 9, absolute monster hole, 659 yards, and just going to absolutely rip it. This was a tight hole, by the way. But hit a great tee shot here. It was kind of leaking a little bit to the right side, but there's a hill that funnels it back down to the center, and I saw it bounce, and I knew I was good. But yeah, this hole was a beast. I'm going to have well over 200 yards left. You can see there's a few people, a little bit of a small gallery watching me hit. And honestly, like, it's actually good for me to play with some people watching, because it definitely helps kind of, I guess, condition me to, play with a little pressure, even if it's just a few people. So 257 yards, going to hit a 7-iron. This green is this has to be the thinnest green ever for any hole above 600 yards. I'm saying it right now, there's no golf course, no golf hole over 600 yards in the planet that has a thinner green than this. And it's absolutely insane how narrow this green is, because I hit this shot, couldn't really see the hole, the green, and I'm assuming I'm on the green. And the people who are watching told me it pretty much hit right about where those sprinkler heads are on the left and kicked to the right. And this hole maybe from end to end, left to right, is maybe 30 feet. I did have a lie that was setting up nicely. Almost chipped this in. Honestly, a great result, given how fast, because the green was running away from me. So that was definitely tough. So I have about 5 or 6 feet here for birdie. Again, just a very slippery putt. It felt like every one of them were. And probably one of my best putts all day there. Got it to fall to get it back to even for the front 9. And now this is probably my best hole of the day. So this is the patio of the clubhouse and the grill room looks right over this hole. I probably had at least 20 to 30 people watching me hit this shot. And I felt a ton of pressure. So I was going to aim up the left center of the green and just try to play a slight fade. And hit one of the best shots I've hit all year. Never left the flag. And it was an amazing feeling to hit this shot, because I felt more pressure over this shot than any shots I hit the entire trip. Because I wanted this hole to be on Instagram, and I knew I had to hit a good shot. And just hit this thing absolutely stiff. You see that's a teen area back there. There's a clubhouse. And, this thing was tracking. This another yard, this could have gone in. So you guys can see where it landed. It was a yard short of the hole. And I have about 3 feet left here to clean up eagle. Dead straight. Didn't overcomplicate it. Just, make a good stroke. Dead center of the cup for a really nice swing there. I was 1 over going into 9, and now I'm 2 under going into 11, and that's how fast things can change. So if you guys want to pause the video and read that, I think that's just talking about how, the history of this land and the ownership of it. So this is what I was talking about. So these next 6 or 7 holes, it's going to kind of cut in and through a bunch of fossils that obviously the state of Colorado, you're not allowed to remove, and kind of a lot of old farming style, it gave me old-time farm vibes, almost in a way. I don't know why I just did, but it was really distinct 6, parts of the course, very different from each other. And so pin was in the back here, and this is another example of these par 3s funneling to the green. This landed at least 15 yards right of the hole. Right of the green. It just kicked dead left and funneled all the way to the back part of the green. Definitely a very good bounce. And you guys can see how it all just seems to kind of funnel into the green there. And yeah, that was a really good result. Definitely makes the course play a little easier. And I certainly hope that it's not normally get caught up on these slopes, because I would not want to be hitting from there. So I have about 12, 15 feet here for another birdie. And I've really been on a great run the last couple holes. feeling good too. Like I really feel good over this putt, and I feel like I have a good read. And honestly, I did. I just hit it too freaking firm, and it's just so frustrating because like the difference between me being able to play professional golf at a high level and not is really just not shooting myself in the foot like that when I'm going on good runs. And that's what's so frustrating is it's like it's all right there, you know. And obviously I know when I start playing competitive golf, there's definitely 100% a psychological factor that goes into it that I'll have to work through. I already know that. So I'm not expecting to shoot these scores right off the rip. But I do know that once I get comfortable out there, I'll be playing like this. I really do feel like that. And so it's just a matter of time. Now, this is one of the coolest holes in the course, one of the holes I was alluding to earlier at the very beginning of the video. You guys can see those fossils out there. Those are, so like, yes, it's decoration for the golf course, but I mean, you're not allowed to remove those rocks. They have actual fossils there from hundreds of millions of years ago. And I don't think I actually showed any of the fossils. Unfortunately, I wasn't aware there were actual like carvings of fossils there or where to look for them. But I did want to show you guys like what it looks like driving up this hole. Just so cool. Like, and I now see why this was so highly requested, because like, you know, these rocks, they're hundreds of millions of years old, and it's just cool to think about. You know, this part of Colorado is dry and arid now. It was a tropical, wet forest, you know, like kind of like Florida. And it's just crazy to think of like how different, you know, as the climate has changed in the past hundreds of thousands of years and even millions and hundreds of millions of years. It's crazy to think of where we are now, how different it was in the past. And it really makes you feel tiny and insignificant. You know, what's an 80-year, 100-year lifespan to compare to hundreds of millions of years of life? You know, it's just really cool to think about. I'm certainly glad I wasn't around 300 million years ago dealing with T-Rexes and dinosaurs who wanted to bite my face off. But in any event, it was a great tee shot here, and you can really see how the green's like kind of surrounded by these rocks. So again, there's that flighted shot. Left it a little bit to the right, but not in a terrible spot. And here's another look at some of these rocks as we drive up to the green. But yeah, this was just super cool, and you know, just this was so much fun to film. Like, I obviously normally do have fun filming, but like this was a day I really, really relished. And obviously the lighting's getting good too. So you know your boy likes good lighting for content. So have about a 40-50 foot chip here. Hit a great chip to just about a foot. And honestly, like, you know, I'll take that because like these green complexes were so tough to get a feel for. And I feel like the only quarter this course gave around the greens was the one thing was the rough was at least pretty predictable. So it was a good thickness. So it wasn't like crazy thick, but it wasn't super loose where the ball would settle down deep into the grass. So I felt like I could get a consistent bead on like how it would come out, which made it a little easier. But with the greens being so fast and difficult, it was really hard to figure out where you wanted to land it. Like, I didn't feel like I had an issue landing the ball where I wanted to, but the problem was figuring out where I wanted to land this ball. So, you know, that was kind of the moonshot throughout the entire day. And this hole is just absolutely gorgeous. 343-yard drive here. Bled a little bit to the right. Just carried the tree. I kind of was a little bit off of where I thought this green was. I thought the green was a lot closer to that tree, but it actually was quite past that tree. You guys can see actually how far back that tree really is. I thought it was only maybe 30-40 yards short of the green. I got kind of a rough break here. I would have definitely preferred to either be 2 yards forward or 2 yards back of where I was, because I had an okay lie, but it was such a steep lip that I had to get like more steep than usual, so I wouldn't actually hit the grass of the lip on the way down to hit the ball. And I think it just kind of messed with my head a little bit, and I turned on the turbo jets more than I should have. And that's kind of I think that's what happens. When I get a little uncomfortable over these shorter shots, my default setting is to turn on the turbo boosters and create more club head speed, which obviously could hurt me a lot. And here, I mean, this putt was just crazy. I don't know how it broke as much as it did, and it just kept rolling. And that's what I'm talking about. That's what made this course tough, was these greens were just boomerangs at times. So I have about 4 or 5 feet right back up the hill. And I feel like I have a good read on this putt, and it just snaps to the left. I think that's putt number 3 or 4. And you guys can just see, I mean, do the math. If I can eliminate 3 putts, we're talking about some pretty low scores here. So I think this is the second to last par 3 in the course. And again, just the same thing. Like, every par 3, it just kind of funnels into the green. So these par 3s actually weren't that hard. But taking a 9-iron here. And I think I misjudged the wind. There wasn't a lot of wind, but it was a very difficult wind because even if it's, say, only 4 to 6 mile an hour wind, it's very, very, very hard, especially when holes are pointing different directions, to get a bead on what that wind will do. Like, if you have 10 to 15 miles an hour of sustained wind, yes, it's tougher to play in that, but at the very least, you know, even as you switch directions with different hole directions, it's pretty easy to pick out the new wind direction and play for it. When you only have like 4, 5, 6 miles an hour of wind, that is enough, especially as high as I hit it. That is enough to affect the shot substantially, but not enough to really be able to feel it as you change directions and be able to remember, okay, this is what the wind's doing. So I was quite short there, but I had another good lie. This grass really kept that ball teed up. You guys saw that chip was really low. That's because I got a ton of spin on it. So those spinners, they come out low, and it was almost stopped on a dime. And really nice par there. On to 15, another par 5, another beautiful, gorgeous-looking hole. And again, there's a look at those fossils on the right. Just, I mean, this course is beautiful from start to finish, and I'm so glad I decided to play this while I was out in Colorado. So, no reason to not go full send here. Hit an absolutely perfect tee shot. A little low in the face, but honestly, hitting low in the face is not bad at all. The ball speed will drop a little bit, but the spin rate will creep up from, say, 2,500 to maybe 2,800. So overall, I'm going to lose maybe 10 or 15 yards of distance, but it's a more stable ball flight and the ball is in play. So hitting at 420 versus 405, you know, if I'm in the fairway hitting at 405, I'm not going to be too broken up over those extra 15 yards. So it was right on top of the 150-yard stake, but the pin is in the back shelf. It seemed like that. It seemed like a lot of these pin locations were very tough. And I got to be honest, I believe at least a couple of occasions when courses have known I'm coming in, they will cut pins a little tougher. I'm not saying I like it or don't. I actually do like the challenge, but I am saying I think that happens. So, if there's any superintendents from courses I've filmed at in the past who can comment on that, please do, because I'm actually really curious, because I've seen some pretty crazy pin locations throughout my career filming content when courses have had, you know, some lead time knowing I'm coming in. But that was a really good second shot. Just kind of was a little bit short, but as I said, like, you know, I didn't want to mess with going over this over this green because it was very back to front. So I can't be upset at all with that leave, and so I can be a little aggressive here and really go for a 3. But I mean, again, I was a little weak on this putt. You know, I don't know why. I felt weak over this putt, and I just didn't hit that great of a roll. I think these 3 putts were starting to get in my head a little bit, and at this point, I was probably just like, you know what, you're hitting the ball good enough. Let's just 2-putt or the rest of the way into the clubhouse. Which obviously is an absolutely terrible attitude to have. I mean, if you want to win tournaments, you got to be just gung-ho from the beginning. You know, and looking back on my junior career, the rounds I played really well, I distinctly remember, like, when I'd make a birdie, my mindset wouldn't be like, okay, we made a birdie, let's try to make a few pars and get into the clubhouse. Like, my mindset would be, all right, we made one, we got to get another one. Okay, we made another one, we need to get another one. You know, we need to keep pushing. And that's kind of how my mindset was. And I know I really need to focus on that, or at least find a balance between being score obsessed, but also, you know, really pushing myself. If I'm hitting the ball well, if I feel good, you know, those are the days I got to shoot a 63 or a 64. And I got to recognize that and really push myself to do that. So that's definitely part of the mental battle that I know I have to go through. And I'm very excited to see the outcome. And honestly, I'm just really excited to see how good I can get at this game, because I know I haven't reached my full potential, and I truly believe my full potential could be something special. So time will tell. Again, there I go, putting myself in probably one of the toughest spots on the golf course. And that's definitely another theme that I need to root out because it's making my rounds way too difficult. I mean, there's no excuse for me to not be 5 or 6 under par right now, and I know that. It's just obviously a process. So not a very good putt there, and that's a very disappointing bogey. And drop back to 1 under 316. And one of the tough parts is obviously golf. A lot of BS happens, and you got to accept it. But it is tough to, it is tough when you're hitting the ball as good as I've been hitting it on this day. It's tough when you see yourself barely in red numbers. You really should be, you really should be pushing 5 or 6 under at least. So hole 17, drivable par 4. The green swings all the way out to the right. This is another one where the pin is literally on a shelf on the right side. I hit an absolutely perfect shot here. Landed it on the front left center of the green. Ran out to the back part of the green. You guys will see, once again, pin's on the back shelf, but pin high. Absolutely perfect. No other spot I'd want to put it. And so I got about probably 30, 40 feet here for eagle. And I'm just kind of hunting for the pitch mark. You guys can see it out in the distance there. And just kind of giving you guys, just so you guys can see how tucked this pin is. That's a tough spot to get to. But there's the landing spot. And rolled out to the back part of the green. I was amazed at how soft I was able to land some of these shots because they're it doesn't matter how lofted or how much spin you have. If a ball's flying 330 yards, she's coming in hot. And there ain't much to stop it on these greens. So, again, this was a much tougher putt than I think the camera shows. But honestly, not too upset with that. I had to get it up and over that ridge, but not too firm where it would kind of pick up speed off of that ridge and run 8 or 10 feet by. So, have about 4 feet left here, and not a super difficult putt, just straight back up the hill. So just going to take one quick look at it. When I have like 3 or 4 feet, I want to get a good read, but I know the longer I spend not hitting the putt, the more likely I am to have bad thoughts creep in, and as a result, the more likely I am to miss the putt. So I try to do just enough work to make sure I'm set and I'm comfortable and I know what the putt's going to do. Once I'm at that point, I want to go because I do not want to be thinking about that putt any more than I have to. But, it was just, I probably picked one of the prettiest days of the entire year to film out here. So hole 18, you can't see it, but there's a huge lake to the right. This is actually a really difficult driving hole because there were sand traps to the left, a lake to the right, and I just hit an absolute rocket right up the center. And that's a very narrow shoot to throw it in, but felt really good to hit a great tee shot there. And push it about as far as you want to push it because as you guys can see, that water pinches in pretty good. So I'm going to have about 160-ish, something like that. 161 yards. Pins, once again, on the back shelf. So I'm going to flight this one in with a 9-iron. I'm still working on this shot, but it is critical that I have a shot that can be flighted and hit good windows between, say, 130 and 180 because it will not work hitting full, gap wedges 160. It can work maybe when there's not a lot of wind, but you're never going to have the consistency just because of the spin rate variance hitting full wedges. You just will never have the consistency versus if you can properly strike a pitching wedge or a 9-iron at a slower club head speed over and over, you're just going to have a lot more control. So, not a bad shot here at all, to be honest. I was just able to get it on the same shelf. This is kind of a tricky little putt, like they all have been. So I got to be really careful to not let this putt get away from me. I do know once I get over the slope, it's going to be quick on the way down. And can't be too mounted, this putt. Got away from me a little bit. You guys can see just how much that trickles. So it got away from me just a little bit. So I'm going to have about 4 or 5 feet left here to clean up my 4. But again, just taking a quick look at it. Because I'd already studied the first putt a ton. So I feel like I had a good beat on this green. So just going to walk up and give it, a nice little roll. And canned it. So we shoot 369. That was a really enjoyable round. I hope you guys enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed making it. If you did, please be sure to Like the video, subscribe, all that good stuff. Stay tuned for more videos coming out 7 p.m. Eastern every Friday. Talk to you guys later.